I knew the sea wanted us dead the moment the barrel started knocking from the inside. 3 taps, then silence, so deep it felt like the water held its breath. We were 2 days from Havana, old merchant ship, mixed crew, sailors, ex-pirates, men who needed coin more than answers. The cargo was simple: barrels of rum, crates of tobacco, and one sealed cask the merchant didn't want listed. He paid extra. Too much extra. The first night was calm. Stars bright. Waves gentle. But the sealed cask sat heavier than it should, dragging the deck down on one side, leaving the planks sweating cold moisture. By dawn it began. A dull thud from inside the cask. Not wood shifting, not rot. A human rhythm. Something in there counted time. No one touched it. No one wanted to. Even the drunkest sailor walked around it like it was a coffin left on the wrong ship. Wind dropped. The sea flattened. Compass needle trembled without turning. Micro hook after micro hook. Everything wrong. That evening the knocking changed. Faster. Harder. Desperate. The barrel rocked on its own weight. SFX. Wood creaked. Metal hoops groaned like bones under strain. No screams. Just knocking. Then the second trigger appeared. A leak. Thin. Dark. Seeping from under the metal ring. Not rum, not seawater, something thicker. A smell rose, metallic, bitter, like old rope left to rot in blood. We checked the cargo manifest again. No passenger, no special shipment. The cask wasn't supposed to exist. By midnight, one of our men vanished. Boots by the mast, lanterns still burning. No esplas, no straged, just gone. The sea whispered under the hull. Soft scraping, like fingers dragged along the board from below. The ship listed a degree off course. We didn't dare lift the barrel. It pulsed when touched, a faint vibration like a weak heartbeat fighting to stay alive. Second day, storm clouds formed out of nowhere. Wind suddenly reversed direction. The ship's slowed those sails were full, as if something under the water pulled us gently back. We found a trail of that same dark liquid leading away from the cask. Thin line, precise, as if poured deliberately. It led to the hatch, down into the hold. We followed it. Cold hit us first. Breath visible, wood sweating, moisture freezing at the edges like frost. The hold felt wrong, like a swallowed room in someone else's throat. We searched every plank. Nothing moved. Then something thudded upstairs. One heavy blow, followed by a long drag. When we rushed back to the deck, the cask was open, lit on the floor. Metal hoops twisted, wood cracked outward. Empty. Whatever was inside had freed itself. Not with brute force, with patience. Water trailed along the deck, leading to the rail. Then down, over the edge. We leaned over. The sea below was calm. Too calm. A thin ripple moved away from the hull, slow, deliberate, like something swimming just below the surface. We dropped anchor. It didn't matter. Anchor strained sideways, pulled gently against the current. Something wanted the ship in place. Night fell heavier than clouds. Fog rose fast. Lantern light didn't reach more than a few feet. The air thickened with that same metallic smell. Then came a sound. Breathing. Under the planks. Slow. Vet. Measured. Not a monster. Not supernatural. Just something human that had been trapped too long in a cask. Something starving. The board stretched. Nails lifted. A thin line split the deck where the thing pressed upward. The crew stepped back. The ship tilted. One more breath. Close. Under my boots. Then silence. A moment so quiet it killed every other sound. And then nothing came out. No attack. No creature. No movement. Just stillness. We waited until dawn. The fog lifted. The sea calmed. Whatever escaped was gone. We sailed to Havana, unloaded the remaining cargo, and never spoke of that cask again. But sometimes at night, when the water is flat like oil, I swear I hear knocking against the hull of distant ships. 3 taps. Always 3. As if someone still counts the time they lost, and waits for the next ship foolish enough to take an unlisted barrel aboard. We left Havana the next morning. Clear skies, empty pockets, crew pretending nothing happened. But the ship felt wrong. Too light, too fast, as if something had been holding it back before, and now wasn't. The men avoided the bow. They claimed it would look fresh, like new planks. But no one touched them long enough to check. By the second night, the wind died again. Unnatural stillness. The kind sailors don't talk about unless drunk or dying. I sensed it first, a faint vibration in the rail, almost like footsteps traveling through the wood. The crew felt it next. Short tremors, then quiet. No estorb, no wobs, just that uneasy thrum under our feet. We blamed nerves, old trauma, imagination, until the knocking returned. Not from barrel, not from below, from the water. 3 taps, against the hull, too steady to be driftwood, too precise to be chance. One sailor leaned over the side, held his breath, listened, nothing. He stepped back, then the taps came again, directly beneath him. Harder, as if something followed his movement. The crew panicked. Small things started going missing. Gloves, knives, a coil of fresh rope, all left near the rail, and all taken quietly into the night. We tried to ignore it, pretend it was the sea playing tricks. But sailors know the ocean, and this wasn't the ocean. On the 4th day, the current changed. No wind, no taid, just a slow, steady pull dragging us sideways. Every rope creaked, every mast leaned. We couldn't fight it. We were being guided, not toward land, not toward a storm, toward still water. A perfect mirror of the sky. Too perfect. No wobs, no ripes. Even the anchor dropped silently, sinking straight down without sway. The crew refused to speak, too afraid to say the same thought out loud. This was where the cask had come from. The knocking began again, under the hull, farther this time, then closer, then far again, like something circling the ship. Slow, patient, studying us. When night fell, the moon showed the truth. A shadow under the water, long, human-shaped, but wrong in the way starvation makes things wrong. Limbs too thin, movements too smooth, too controlled, not supernatural, just something that had lived too long in darkness and learned to move without disturbing the surface. It slid beneath us once more. The hull trembled lightly. 3 taps, then a long scrape, as if marking the wood, as if claiming it. By dawn, the ship had drifted into a patch of water colder than any we'd known. Cold that crept up the boards, cold that made breath shake. And then we saw them. Handprints, faint, vet, pressed into the outside of the hull. One set, then another, then dozens. Smears along the wood, like someone clung to the ship through the night. Held on for hours, watching. One handprint was larger, fresher, a streak of dark residue trailing downward. Not blood, not paint, salt-stained skin, oil, human. The crew wanted to abandon ship, but the lifeboats were wet, not soaked by rain. What as if someone had climbed into each one. Sat there, waited, then slipped back into the water without being seen. We sailed at full speed toward the nearest port. Didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't breathe unless needed. When land appeared, the knocking finally stopped. We docked, tied the ropes, ran. Not one of us stayed aboard. I returned the next morning alone. The ship was empty, untouched, still, but on the hull, near the waterline, 3 new taps were carved into the wood. Perfect, even, fresh. A message, not a threat, not a warning, a promise. It knows the ship, it knows the route, and it knows we're still alive. I saved a man from a sea, and whatever he carried with him is still out there, following the next vessel foolish enough to take on unlisted cargo.